The broadcast of the regular meeting of the Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee will now begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee for today, January 19th. I am Lisa Goodman and I am chair of the committee. As we begin, I'll note for the record, the meeting has remote participation by members of the City Council and City staff as authorized under Minnesota Statute 13D.021 as a result of the declared local public health emergency. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify quorum for our committee meeting.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
Gordon.
Here.
Osmond.
Present.
Ellison.
Present.
Schrader.
Here.
Chair Goodman.
Present.
There's 6 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Prior to the beginning of our meeting and presentation number 1, I wanted to take a moment to call on Councilmember Ellison, who had something he wanted to share with the group.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I regret to have to start this meeting off by sharing a bit of sad news, but I wanted to share with folks and just spend a little bit of time talking about Amelia Brown, who worked in the coordinator's office and passed away this past weekend. She was somebody who worked with Goguen Kaim in the arts, culture, and creative economy work that we do here at the city. And she was somebody who I had gotten to know well, and who was in charge of one of the programs that I actually, as a young artist before my time on the council, that I had been a part of. And I'm sure that Amelia's colleagues and friends will have a more formal sort of recognition of her life, but I just wanted to offer my condolences to the family and express how incredibly devastated I am to see her pass unexpectedly. And for the folks who maybe didn't get a chance to work with Amelia, just to say, Amelia had one of those personalities that feel rare, especially in a year like this where folks could not be blamed if you were to give in to cynicism or a little bit of despair. She was a real joy to be around. And so, yeah, it's with that heavy heart that I'm, just want to express, my personal sadness and gratitude towards Amelia and what she offered the world and certainly what she offered the city. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Ellison. With that, we will move on to item number 1, which is a presentation. This is a presentation of Minneapolis Employment and Training Partner of the Year Awards. We normally have the good fortune to do this in person and be able to hug all of the people who have done such great work for us over the year. We decided to move forward with this anyway, even though it's virtually, and we're giving a virtual hug and thank you to everyone who's participating. With that, I will invite Ms. Barhelgen to give the staff presentation.
Great. Thank you, Chair Goodman, for the opportunity to once again present our Partner of the Year Awards virtually this year. We have such exceptional partners and that we're recognizing today, and they go above and beyond in providing innovative job-seeking and stability services to residents of Minneapolis who need jobs. This has really been a difficult year for all of us, and yet the challenges that these partners have overcome and innovative ways to reach and serve people with high quality services is just amazing. And so we'll get started. I know Jason Eisen, I'll turn it over to him next. He's the Minneapolis Workforce Development Board member and owner of H&B Elevator in Minneapolis. And if we could get started with the first slide, which is the Youth Award for Hired. And I want to check to make sure Jason is on. I know he was trying to call in a minute ago with a number starting 728.
Mr. Eisen, are you on the call?
Can you hear me?
We can,
Hello?
sir. Please go. Yeah. Mr. Eisen.
Okay, hi, this is Jason, H&B Elevators. The success stories of Journey Forward are beyond touching. In its second year, Journey Forward, a program of Hired that serves 67 gang and clique involved youth in the city of Minneapolis, is making a huge impact by focusing on barrier elimination. Case managers Dawn Trimarco and Sean Phillips spend their time building relationships with young adults and providing support services that result in real stabilization. The program offers assistance with eliminating employment and education barriers, pre-employment training, and employment assistance, as well as helping with attaining vital documentation and housing stability assistance. Dawn and Sean have worked really hard to build trusting relationships with the young men and women who enroll in the program. The relationships with the Journey Forward coaches is allowing the participants to make a positive lifestyle change. Please join me in welcoming the Journey Forward coaches to say a few words here in accepting this award for their hard work, and giving the floor also to a participant to speak briefly to the experience and the impact that the program has had on them. I'll turn it over to Dawn and Sean of Hired. Dawn, if you want to start out.
Hello and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Dawn Trimarco, and this is such an honor for our youth, Hired, and the Journey Forward counselors, Sean Phillips and I. I need to first say thank you so very much to Shavonda, Deb, Jason, and the City of Minneapolis team for your continued commitment and support to our program and our young people in the Journey Forward program. As Shavonda and many others have heard me say over and over, I am so very grateful for the opportunity to work with our youth in a program with a philosophy that truly gives us the time and flexibility to really dig deep into the roots of the young person, a program that allows us to enroll young adults up to age 28, and a program that allows us the time to build meaningful and trusting relationships with our young people so that we can first identify and then work through eliminating barriers so that they can then work towards obtaining and maintaining stability in all areas of life, one at a time. I'm going to talk about the overview of the Journey Forward program, and then Sean will talk about what he calls the heart work of our program. In the past year and a half, we have worked with close to 100 youth who have been served and assisted with eliminating barriers and or enrolled in the program. The Journey Forward's program goal is barrier elimination. Journey Forward counselors actively meet with our young people to work with identifying and eliminating barriers to them achieving employment, education, and or stability in all areas of life. As you mentioned, our target population is gang, clique, gun violence, and or homeless youth ages 16 to 28 years old with a City of Minneapolis address. Along with the Journey Forward program, all of Hired's youth program counselors meet with our young people in the community. Our youth program's motto is that every youth is one caring adult away from success. Our young people know that we care, that we're real, and that we are a consistent, supportive, and trusting adult in their lives. Services that are provided in the Journey Forward program include, as you mentioned, assistance with eliminating employment and education barriers, providing resources for housing stability, help and funding to attain vital documentation for employment, pre-employment training and employment assistance, many discussions on parenting challenges and solutions, assisting appropriate clients in applying for SNAP and other government assistance in completing their FAFSA, if they choose to do college or career pathways, trainings, research, working with them on financial responsibility, budgeting, develop resumes, encouraging them and walking through clients for the process of applying for bank accounts and other financial stability that they need. Some of the financial support services have included rental reimbursement for housing, cell phones or paying cell phone bills to communicate, work clothes and equipment, professional interviewing clothes, transportation gift cards, hygiene items, work clothing needs, and or personal necessities. And we always discuss safety plans to keep our participants safe in the community. Even with COVID-19 still a factor, we were able to be flexible to stay as connected as possible with our participants by listening to their struggles, their fears, their frustrations, their needs, constantly encouraging them and figuring out how to help keep them safe, keep them alive, stay positive and focused. With Sean and I, our participants' goals are our goals. We are supportive of their passions. Sean and I do not accept mediocre as good enough. We have the real talks with them. We push them to strive harder for themselves, for their family, their children, and we hold them accountable as they need it. They're accepting of that constructive criticism because they know that we truly care about them. We feel that too many people have held them to standards that are too low, so we expect more with them, and we're there to help them reach those goals and be supportive along their journey. We can find success in each and every young person we work with. And again, thank you so very much for this award and for recognizing the impact and opportunities that are attained through the Journey Forward program. And with that, I pass this along to my fabulous coworker, Sean Phillips. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Sean Phillips. As my colleague Don Tremarco said, and I've been in this, before I get to the crux of what I'm going to say, that I've been in the people serving business for 35 years now in the city of Minneapolis. And I can say without question that the Journey Forward program that I've been a part of has been the most rewarding for a variety of reasons. So to that, I'll start with what I'm going to say. I'd like to start by saying thank you to the city of Minneapolis for this award, to Shavonda Allen for your continual support of Journey Forward. That is always a plus. This award doesn't happen without the support of believers in the promise of the Northside community, nor does it happen without a team. And to that, I want to again recognize my teammate in this effort, Don Tremarco. And lastly, I'm not sure if she's on the line still, would like to thank Jan West, our former leader at Hired, who had the foresight to put Don and myself together in this effort. What has made Journey Forward work is Don and I both recognize that it's not the hard work that makes things flow, it's the hard work that makes all the difference. The difficult phone calls in the middle of the night, the listening to participants be frustrated with their current lot in life, their frustration with us for being so hard on them, to the many other things time has brought before them. But we were fortunate enough to wade through these waters, these troubled waters with all of them. She and I are both polar opposites on many levels. We have to be, our walks in life are very different. But one thing that is constant is this consistently caring for our participants and their futures. That's we both find our joy and success in this work. The many young men and women who have allowed us to struggle through the moments with them and along their continuum of change is why we do this work. For those who are in this business, you know it's not easy. Journey Forward, some of the participants, it hasn't been easy. We haven't been able to save everybody, but we saved many. And so this award, albeit great and highly appreciative of this award, the ultimate reward that drives Dawn and I is for these young people recognizing their promise and seeking out their potential, and ultimately finding the light that Dawn and I see in them from day one. From Jerron, who you will hear from shortly, who was a miracle in my eyes, to the many young children he works with now, to a young man that called me in the middle of last night saying, "Sean, I have great news. My probation officer called me and they let me on probation early because I've done well over the last 2 years. Thank you, man. You were the first person I thought of calling, so I called you." These are two young people who are examples of the reasons why Don do what I do and why Journey Forward works. In ending, Journey Forward gave Dawn and I the flexibility and the opportunity to affect change within the North and South Side community, my community of over 40 years, by allowing us to work with young men and women who are at the crossroads of their lives, and has allowed us to walk with them along the way. This program, I end this by saying that this award means a lot. When I found out that we received this, I was ill, I was sick, and this made all the work that Don and I have done over the past 2 years, this was medicine in that moment. So again, thank you to the city of Minneapolis. It's highly appreciated. And thank you, Don, for being the colleague I've always needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now hear from John Whitaker.
Hello, can everybody?
We can hear you, sir. Thank you for being here today.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, my name is John Whitaker. I'm part of the Journey Forward program. I believe I've been part of the program since 2019, I believe, of October. I got out of prison October 2nd of 2019 and was pretty much lost. Didn't know where I was going to go. Didn't know where I was going to get a job from. Probation officer on my back. And this the first day out of prison, so, you know, it's scary. Got in the car with my cousin, and we rode around. I ended up dropping him off and picking him back up the next day to go to his interview to meet Sean. And I guess halfway through the meeting, they got to talking about me. Sean came out, introduced himself. Me and him talked for probably like 10 minutes, cracked a couple jokes, and it was on from there. I think I met him a week after that at a coffee shop in St. Paul. And we talked. He asked me my goals and what I wanted to do in life and what made me happy. And I told him, he asked me, what did I want to do for work? I told him immediately, anything. And literally the next week after that, I had an interview at the Center Foundation at Conway in St. Paul, pretty much helping kids. And I've been there ever since. Love the job. Pretty much Shine showed me a different way because I'm literally from the streets. Like, I grew up in the streets. And I don't know if I'd never met Shine, most likely I'd still be in the streets, still be doing me now. I got another baby on the way. I'm living in my own house. All because Shine introduced me to a man, which he didn't have to. He didn't know me, I didn't know him. And I appreciate Shine for that. Shine being a caring person, and he introduced me to Don. And Don is a good lady, for the people, literally. Like, ain't no fakeness in them. Shine to answer the phone whenever I call. If he ain't sick, matter of fact, he answered the phone when he was sick. So I definitely appreciate Shine and everything he done for me. Like I'm saying, I'm first house I ever lived in, paying rent, got a good job, and I really can't say all because of Shine, because I put the work in too, but it was all Shine, Without Shine giving me opportunity, I'd probably still be on the streets, like I said.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Whitaker, for sharing your story with us and telling us in a real way about the work of this very important Journey Forward program. And congratulations to you. Best wishes.
Best wishes to y'all too, Don and Shine. I appreciate both of y'all.
Thank you. We'll next hear from Laura Beath.
Laura is here as chair of our Workforce Development Board and Vice President of Talent Acquisition at M Health Fairview, and she'll present our next award to Emerge. Laura, are you there? I will jump in since we're not hearing her.
Thank you.
Okay. So over the last year, both the adult program partners being recognized today, Emerge Community Development and Urban League Twin Cities, have done exceptional work to react and respond and serve our community during the COVID-19 pandemic. Together, they served more than 115 people, more than 90% of whom were from communities of color, and were low income. They assisted 31 job seekers in becoming certified nursing assistants or earning their commercial driver's license and getting on the path to high demand jobs in our economy. They helped 52 people secure employment with an average wage gain of more than $15 an hour. Today, in addition to the achievements just mentioned, we want to highlight how each of these partners have continued to support job seekers despite the challenges of the last year. So getting into some of Emerge's work, as in-person services and trainings have had to rapidly transition to being provided virtually, Emerge secured funding to provide computers to all participants who needed them to participate in virtual services. Staff also worked to create alternative enrollment and intake processes that could be done virtually, including finding secure options for participants to submit eligibility documentation. And also they supported participants who had lost jobs by providing food and emergency cash assistance and other basic necessities. They also provided internship opportunities for youth and young adults in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood. And lastly, which is very innovative, they have installed a tent to create an outdoor workspace at Cedar Riverside that allowed for in-person services that still followed COVID-19 safety protocols. So congratulations to Emerge. I'll turn it over to Mike Wynn, Executive Director of Emerge, to say a few brief words.
Thank you. Mr. Wynn, please press *6 to unmute.
Me?
Hi. Mike, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, council members, and Deb. It's really a special honor to be here and be recognized this year, a year of enormous challenges for all of us. Our work in Cedar Riverside and North Minneapolis continues to have impact in spite of the current challenges. And I want to thank our great staff at Emerge, a wonderful team of community professionals who mainly live in our city, reflect the culture and language of our neighborhoods, and truly embody the spirit of neighbors helping neighbors reach economic opportunities. I want to give a special shout out to Muhammad Ali and Tara Mayfield, our amazing leaders, and all of our team at Emerge for these programs. This year has required us to dig deeper to maintain connections with people to ensure they have the support they need to continue to make strides. And we're very proud of all the creative ways our team has developed to continue to be present for our community. We sincerely appreciate our longtime partnership with the team at Minneapolis Employment and Training under Deb Barhelgen's superb leadership. This work and partnership will continue to be very important as we all work to rebuild our city's economy after the pandemic in a way that is shared and equitable for everyone in our community. It's a special honor for me to be here and to receive this recognition. And I want to thank you all so much for acknowledging our work this year.
Thank you, Mike, for being here. Ms. Barhelgen.
Wonderful. Congratulations again to Emerge. Let's see if Laura Beath is able to unmute now. Laura? Looks like not, so I'll continue on. And now I'm pleased to present a second award for exceptional service to Urban League Twin Cities. Some of the great work that Urban League Twin Cities has done over this very trying and unusual year.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Hi, Laura.
It's funny, I'm getting you, sorry. And I want to thank Chair Goodman for allowing us to be here today. It's one of the highlights of the year, and we just love sharing the partner work. And I just also want to say to Mike Wynn, Emerge is just an amazing organization. It's close to my heart when I work across the street from the Cedar Riverside area. They're just critical to really helping and partnering in that area for employment. So I will move on to our second award for exceptional service to the Urban League Twin Cities. Some of the great work that the Urban League Twin Cities has done over this last year very trying and unusual year include quickly trained staff to provide services virtually and adapt training so participants could continue to train online. Developed a running series of virtual career fairs which rapidly gained popularity with residents seeking to re-enter the workforce. Began regular outdoor fresh food distribution events to support and stabilize participants. Used digital platforms to connect with current and prospective participants, and supported participants in accessing free or low-cost computers and internet access. I understand Dr. Barbara Doyle is here to accept the award on behalf of the Urban League Twin Cities. Congratulations on this well-deserved award. I'll let you take it from here.
Ms. Doyle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Certainly thank the Minneapolis City Council, and thank you, Deb Barhelgen, for your awesome leadership. We really appreciate this. And I'm really missing the hugs and to be in person to receive this award. Year before last, we received the award as well. So, but on behalf of our president and CEO, Mr. Steve Belton, we are extremely, I mean, really extremely honored to be receiving this award. We are so grateful for the recognition received for the work we are doing. It's something that we enjoy doing, and we have changed the lives of so many people. We're continuing to do that. And I would be remiss, though, if I did not recognize and thank everyone who made this award possible. Special recognition to Mr. Hillary Thomas, who is one of our job developers for our CDBG program. And he has done an outstanding job, and I'm so blessed to have a person of his ability and his skills and his talents, and also the job developers in the workforce program at the Urban League Twin Cities. And something that comes to mind was a quote by saying by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, says, "We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat." So we're helping to change lives. We're continuing to change lives, and we really appreciate this recognition. And we have a number of success stories of persons who have been facing a number of barriers: unemployment, underemployment, persons who have been homeless, and now we've changed so many lives. And thank you to the city of Minneapolis for making this possible, that we're able to continue this great work. We thank you, and we'll just continuing doing this great work and changing lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Doyle, and a heartfelt congratulations to our friends at Hired, Emerge, and the Twin Cities Urban League for really stepping up at a time at which the community needs you the most. We're just honored to be able to partner with you. I'd like to ask Councilmember Ellison, followed by Councilmember Osmond, who both would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to echo your thanks and appreciation to our award winners, all of which doing incredible work in North Minneapolis. And I know myself, and I don't want to speak for Councilmember Cunningham, but I think I can in saying that that as the Northside representatives, we really appreciate everything that you guys are bringing to the table and doing for the people of the North Side. And I also just want to, and I think all these institutions have been around for a long time. Of course, the Urban League doing incredible work for so many decades and generations. And so I feel like it feels like we really get to be part of to bear witness to your contribution to us here at the city. And just want to thank Mr. Whitaker, who gave the incredible testimony as one of the people who was a part of the Hired program. I think that often when folks think about, people who might be transitioning out of, prison, they might have their preconceived notions. And I thought, what an honor for us to be able to hear firsthand what his experience was, and just want to thank the folks there. So thank you guys for sharing your story, and thank you for sharing your skills and your resources with the city of Minneapolis.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Madam. I really want to take the time to thank Minneapolis Employment Department and Training Services. As you hear, the staff that are doing the work, and organizations that have been presented these awards, I want to take the time to congratulate them. I have been someone who has been working with the youth in the past, and youth. Myself, growing up here, these are the program and the mentors that really helped me out in my own life. And working with youth and running a youth program, and working with a Step Up program in Minneapolis, it's a life-changing moment for this young man's life. And I want to say thank you for Hired and showing the example, and that these programs do work, and showing the elected officials that creating this kind of programs do help the youth. And we hear the youth themselves, and if we really want to help for any way society that are struggling with so many things and difficult times we're in, all the youth, all they want is for us to be there and create opportunity for them, and jobs, and education, and internship. It's all they need. And I really want to congratulate and thank Hire and Emerge. Has been wonderful to see the Riverside. There's a lot of great things that the community in See the Riverside and Ward 6 say about Merge and the work they have done. Continuing that work, it's very important. The community relies on them. I think the CDL program has been also very popular in here. Majority of our residents and the youth need those opportunities to come. And people that took the leadership, organizations like Emerge and Hired and Urban League, are the organizations that we need, and we need to continue supporting those that are taking the lead. So thank you all for all you do. You are the real hero that are making change, that are making people's lives. And so thank you all for changing so many lives. Thank you.
And thank you and congratulations to all of our staff and the staff of all of the organizations who are doing this incredible work. We'll now move on to the consent portion of our agenda, which includes items 11 through 17 on the agenda. Item 20 was referred back, as you probably know, from the City Council meeting. I will also move to postpone item 20 for 3 cycles, which would bring it in front of us again on March 2nd. This will provide the homeowners the opportunity to continue to do due diligence to potentially bring new findings of fact to a decision before the council at that time. Item number 11 are Arts Commission appointments. Item number 12 is exclusive development rights to the City of Lakes Land Trust for a commercial land trust project at 19 East 26th Street. Item 13 is approving a grant for our low barrier housing program for an expansion of a project in the 8th Ward. Item 14 is an exemption from the inclusionary zoning requirement to allow for firefighters for healing to participate in a larger project that is going to be happening in the 3rd Ward. Item 15 are grant applications from the Department of Employment and Economic Development Deeds Redevelopment Grant Program. These are all affordable housing projects that everyone on the committee is familiar with. Item 16 is a referral to staff with regard to the elevator and conveyance device ordinance. Item 17 is also referring the subject matter with regard to provisions for bird-safe buildings. And item 20, as I noted, will be brought back in 3 cycles. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone would like to pull for further discussion? Seeing none, I'll move items 7 through 17 and postponing item 20 until March 2nd. I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osmond?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There's 6 ayes.
Those items are approved. We'll now move on to the public hearing portion of our agenda, starting with item number 2, which is an application for Tipsy Steer at 5000 Hiawatha Avenue. I'd invite staff to give a presentation.
Thank you, Chair Goodman and committee members. I'm Enrique Velasquez, Manager of Licenses and Consumer Services, presenting an application from Tipsy Steer Hiawatha LLC, doing business as Tipsy Steer, and as you mentioned, located at 5000 Hiawatha in Ward 12. This application, the applicant is requesting an on-sale wine and beer license with Sunday sales and no live entertainment. They currently operate with a food-only restaurant business, and if approved, they intend to add wine and beer to its menu and have additional seating outside on a private patio. The proposed hours of operation for both interior and exterior spaces will be Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then Sunday from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. On January 5th, 61 public hearing notices were sent to property owners within 600 feet of the premises, to the Nokomis East Neighborhood Organization, Nokomis East Business Association, and to Councilmember Johnson. We've received 5 responses from the public with regards to this specific public hearing and the applicant. All 5 of these responses were in support of the application. Staff have reviewed 311 calls and police calls for service and found no significant issues that can be attributable to this business. Licenses and Consumer Services recommends approval for an on-sale wine and strong beer with Sunday sales and no live entertainment license. This concludes my presentation, and at this time, I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
I'll see if there are any questions for Mr. Velasquez on item number 2. Seeing none, I'll proceed to open the public hearing and see if there is anyone in queue to speak to this item. And it looks like there is. Mr. Greg Austin is on the line. Feel free to press *6 to unmute, Mr. Austin.
Hello, this is Greg Austin.
Hello, please feel free to provide your testimony.
Hello, this is Greg Austin.
Hi, Greg. Feel free to proceed.
Hi. Yes, I'm representing Tipsy Steer. We're hoping that everyone in the neighborhood will support us in adding on this license to give additional items on our menu for our patrons. And so far we've had very good support from everybody coming in. And as you'd heard, people said they were going to call in or reach out to Councilmember Johnson's office or the city and let them know that they wanted us to come in there. So it's been a little difficult getting open during this time, but so far, like I said, it's been going well, and we look forward to adding this on, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for the testimony and for the good work you're doing. I don't see any other people in queue to speak to this public hearing. I'll just verify that with the clerk.
No further speakers on item 2.
Seeing no further speakers, I'll close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move approval.
Approval of item number 2 has been moved. Are there further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osmond?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There's 6 ayes.
That carries and that motion is approved. We'll now move to public hearing items numbers 3, 4, and 5. These are all land sales to Wilson Molina. I'm going to ask staff to report on all 3 of these items together. These are for land sales at 722 Newton Avenue North, 2122 Ilion Avenue North, and 2756 Queen Avenue North. Mr. Ramadan.
I forgot to unmute and turn on my screen. Good afternoon, council members and Chair Goodman. These three sales, again, are 722 Newton Avenue North to Wilson Molina for its appraised value of $80,000, 2122 Ilion Avenue North for its appraised value of $65,000, and 2756 Queen Avenue North for its appraised value of $75,000. All of these sales would be through Minneapolis Homes Rehab Program, where the policies for the program were established by the City Council on December 11, 2015, and on February 10, 2017. The staff marketed these three properties with open houses held in October, with a notification provided to a listserv of now over 3,200 people. CPED's construction management staff reviewed the scopes of work and estimates and submitted by the applicant and confirmed they meet the minimum rehabilitation standards of the program. The purchaser was notified of the public hearing today. I'm not sure if he's able to be a part of this. In each case, and I'll just kind of real quickly say before the public hearings, 722 Newton was constructed in 1907. The purchaser intends to invest $171,250 to purchase and rehabilitate this as a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. Notification was provided to the Northside Residents Redevelopment Council on December 3rd. 2020. The neighborhood declined to make a recommendation as Wilson was unable to appear at their monthly meeting to review his proposal. On 2122 Ilion, this was acquired by the city on August 8th, 2019 from Hennepin County tax forfeited land. In this case, they would propose to invest $144,750 to purchase and rehabilitate it as a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. Notification was also provided to the Jordan neighborhood on December 20th, and they did not respond or make a recommendation. On June 4th, 2020, the city acquired 2756 Queen Avenue North from Hennepin County tax forfeited land. In this case, Mr. Molina proposes to invest $167,250 to purchase and rehabilitate this property as a 4-bedroom and 2-bath home. And again, notification was provided to the Jordan neighborhood on December 20th or December 3rd, 2020. Mr. Molina would market all three properties without restrictions after the projects are complete, and I stand for questions or comments as part of the public hearing.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Ramadan? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on items number 3, 4, and 5 and ask the clerk if there are any speakers in queue. Go ahead, Irene.
Oh, hi. There are no speakers registered for 3, 4, or 5.
Okay, so no speakers registered. Seeing there's no one here to speak to these items, I'll close the public hearing on items 3, 4, and 5, and I'll ask Councilmember Ellison for a motion.
I'll move approval of these items, Madam Chair.
On the motion by Councilmember Ellison, are there further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Gordon? Councilmember Gordon? Councilmember Osman?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
And Councilmember Gordon? There are 5 ayes.
That carries and the motion is approved. We'll move on to public hearing item number 6, which is a land sale at 2348 James Avenue North. Mr. Ramadan.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, staff recommends the sale of 2348 James Avenue North to United Hmong Investment LLC for $70,000. If United Hmong Investment LLC fails to close, sell 2348 James Avenue North to Pezzo Star Properties LLC. This property was constructed in 1921 and was acquired on June 4th, 2020 from Hennepin County tax forfeited land. The purchaser, United Hmong Investment LLC, proposes to invest $168,152 to purchase and rehabilitate this property as a 4-bedroom and 2-bathroom home to be marketed exclusively to owner occupants. The alternate purchaser, Pezzo Star Properties LLC, proposes to invest $235,000 to purchase and rehabilitate this property as a 4-bedroom and 2-bathroom home to be marketed exclusively to owner occupants. Staff found that the proposal from United Hmong Investment scored slightly higher on the review. Notification was provided to the Jordan Area Community Council on December 3rd, 2020. They did not make a recommendation. I believe both parties are notified and are here for the public hearing today. Are there any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on item number 6? Seeing none, we're going to open the public hearing on item number 6. I have a number of people in queue, starting with Nazir Mohammed.
Hello, how you doing? My name is Mahat Farah, and I'm calling about the 2348 James Avenue North.
Go ahead, Mr. Farah.
I was calling this property. We're very interested. When we originally went and seen the property, we have a buyer. We already acquired another property through the city of Minneapolis, 1131 James, which will be done by the end of this month. And a new family will take ownership of that property. And the family has five kids, and they're very fortunate. They love the property that we actually remodeled and did for them. And we are trying to do the same thing to 2448. And we do have a buyer as well that's interested by the name of Amina Abukar. And she does have 6 kids, and she is in need of a place to live as soon as possible. And we did promise her once we do acquire this property that we will get it to the point that it needs to be livable and sustainable, and also having another home buyer in the North Minneapolis community. I believe we are qualified as well to get this property, and we do have the fundings, and we know we are working directly one-on-one with the buyers, as we are, every project we do, they do come and look at it to their satisfaction. So this is a win-win for the family that's gonna buy the project, and it'll be a win for us to give it to that family. With that being said, we really believe that this property, we would like to purchase it and acquire it and get it back to the way it needs to be and get more home ownership in the North Minneapolis community. And with that being said, I thank you, Madam Chair, and the council members.
Thank you for your testimony. I'll ask if Nazir Mohammed is on the line. Please press *6 to unmute.
I'm here, but
Mr. Mohammed, we'll give you another chance. Press *6 to unmute. Okay, we'll try to call on JC Lee. Is JC Lee on the line? Please press *6 to unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. Thank you, Council, for the opportunity to speak briefly. My name is JC speaking on behalf of United Home Investments, which is owned by my parents, and I will be the licensed contractor in charge of rehabbing 2348 James. Initial walkthrough, we saw a lot of potential in the property, and just wanted to tell you today that we are still very interested in the purchase of the property and do plan to move forward once it's approved. And with that said, we are looking forward to partnering up with the city of Minneapolis to just better improve housing within the city. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else who's here for this item, which is public hearing land sale number 6? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and move the staff recommendation, which is to sell this property for United Hmong Investment, and should they be unable to close, authorize the sale to Pesdo Star Properties, and encourage those folks who did not win this one. There are many others. There are many other opportunities, and we would be happy to work with you. Are there further comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Reich?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osmond?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk if there's no objection, if we could please list Councilmember Gordon as voting aye on items 3, 4, and 5. Seeing no objection, I'll ask the clerk to record Councilmember Gordon voting that way. And then we will move on to public hearing number 7, which is a land sale at 822 Elwood Avenue North. Mr. Ramadan.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, staff recommends the sale of 822 Elwood Avenue North to John Heish Incorporated for $125,000 subject conditions if John Ice Incorporated fails to close, sell 822 Elwood Avenue North to TT Lyle Bediaco for $125,000 subject conditions. This was constructed in 1916. The city acquired this property from Hennepin County tax-forfeited land on July 12, 2017. On October 11, 2019, the City Council approved the sale of 822 Elwood Avenue North to Jaslyn Talley, doing business as 822 Elwood Avenue North LLC, as a purchaser, with Roman Derivenko as the alternate purchaser. However, both she and the alternate purchaser were unable to close on the land sale due to loss of income from the pandemic. The purchaser, John Ice, proposes to invest $649,312 to purchase and rehabilitate this property as a fourplex, which it is now, with 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in each unit, to be sold without restrictions. The alternate purchaser, TT Lyle Bediaco, proposes to invest $432,100 to purchase and rehabilitate those 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in each unit, in which she would be the owner occupant of one of the units. The remaining units would be leased without restrictions. Notification was provided to the Northside Residents Redevelopment Council on December 3rd. The NERC board met on December 21st, 2020. They expressed concerns about the low budget estimates for TT Lyle Bediaco and also the plans from John Ice that substantially changed the character of the building. They voted to conditionally support the proposal from TT Lyle Bediaco as the purchaser because of her intention to be an owner occupant. The NERC board would also approve John Ice as the alternate purchaser should TT Lyle Bediaco fail to close, but only on the condition that the plans for changing the exterior from stucco to siding would be revisited. CPET's project coordination and construction management staff reviewed both proposals and recommend the proposal of John Ice Incorporated as the purchaser, with TT Lyle Bediaco as the alternate purchaser for the property, based on the extensive rehabilitation that this project will require. This decision was based on John Ice's being the higher scoring applicant, coupled with his experience and the concerns raised by staff on the budget that TT Lyle Bediaco's proposal to complete this dilapidated fourplex. Staff also agrees with the neighborhood concerns regarding limiting the change of the structure, architectural appearance of the building, and the developers agreed to work with the neighborhood and staff. Both parties were notified of the public hearing today. Are there any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan? Mr. Ramadan, I'm confused. Staff is worried about the rehabilitation of this property, but then picked the one with the lower price.
We picked the one with the higher price.
You picked the one that was going to put more money in or less money?
That's correct. With the one that was going to put more money in.
Okay, I think I might have heard that incorrectly. I thought John.
And I might have misspoken.
Okay, so can you clarify what the that Mr. Aish is the $400,000 cost and Ms. Bediaco is the less expensive?
Just the way around. Mr. Aish is $649,312. Bediaco is $432,100.
Got it. Okay. I was wondering why you would pick the one that would put less money into it. Okay. And neither are here today, so that's why I thought I should ask you. Are there other questions for Mr. Ramadan? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on item number 7 with the staff recommendation as listed in the agenda. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Seeing no one is registered and no one is speaking out, I will close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move approval of the staff recommendation. And also happy to work with staff to reach out to TT, who I know and would love to support in getting a project that maybe could more appropriately suit what she could pull off. So,
fantastic, thank you. Are there further comments or questions on Councilmember Ellison's motion to approve the staff recommendation? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Ray?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osman?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item is approved. We'll now move on to item number 8, which is a land sale at 4901 Vincent Avenue North. I want to note up front that staff has asked to postpone this item until, well, they'll speak to that. They're asking to postpone, but we're going to take the public hearing anyway. Mr. Ramadan.
council members and Chair Goodman, excuse me, the staff is recommending the sale of 4901 Vincent Avenue North to William Washington as to be an owner occupant of a new triplex to be built after the current property is demolished on the site for $25,000 subject to conditions. This is also a repeat. We had this once before, and the previous applicants were unable to close on this about a year or so ago. There was some concern, even though Mr. Washington is planning to build this property without any city subsidy in order to be an owner occupant, as I again mentioned, for him and his family for a triplex home at 4901 Vincent Avenue North. The neighborhood met on December 3rd and had some concerns raised about setbacks and the amount of traffic that it might cause and whether or not there was adequate parking. Mr. Washington was not able to be at that meeting, and the neighborhood sent a letter to both the committee as well as to our staff on Friday saying that they would prefer to have this move back one cycle to February 2nd in order to have a chance to sit down with the developer and kind of go over his plans and get a better feel for exactly what's being proposed. We did talk to the developer, Mr. Washington, and he's also okay with this of delaying this action by one council committee cycle to February 3rd.
Okay, thank you for that report, Mr. Ramadan. I want to make it clear that it's allowed within our policy to build a triplex, and we're not going to have people try to stop land sales because they don't like the use that's legally allowed. They can take that up in the zoning entitlement process. And so I hope we don't have more postponements like this because I feel like it potentially could get Mr. Washington to suggest he's not going to buy the lot then if the neighbors suggest that they are opposed to a triplex because of parking issues. So I just want to make it clear we're not taking land use issues up during land sale issues. And so since no one is on this call and you normally would be public feedback, I'm willing to postpone it one cycle, but I want to be clear that we're not going to have neighborhood boards telling applicants they can't buy a property that would be something that would be allowed under the code. And I'm sure my colleagues would agree. They're probably shocked I'm saying it, but I'm following the city's policy. With that, we'll open the public hearing as it has been noticed for a land sale at 4901 Vincent Avenue North and see if anyone is registered to speak. Seeing there is no one registered to speak, I will close the public hearing and postpone this until February 2nd, per Mr. Ramadan's suggestion. Are there any further comments or questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osman?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item has been postponed. Thank you, Mr. Ramadan, for all of your reports. We'll move on to item number 9, which is an interim use permit on behalf of Avivo for the tiny home village project at 1251 Washington Avenue North. I will call on Ms. Sether for her report.
Thank you, Chair Goodman, committee members. Item number 9 is for the Avivo Village. And the applicant is seeking an interim use permit to allow for an emergency shelter for up to 100 persons within the existing building located at 1251 Washington Avenue North for a period of up to 4 years. Next slide, please. The existing building is a 1-story, 50,000 square foot office and warehouse building built in 1987. The building was most recently used by Lerner Publishing as their distribution center. The subject property is located at the southwest corner of Washington Avenue North and Plymouth Avenue North, just east of Interstate 94 and just north of the downtown core. The applicant is proposing a pilot project to construct 164 square foot tiny homes within the existing warehouse building to provide temporary emergency shelter. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. Each tiny home will have essential furnishings, 4 windows, and will be secured by the resident in order to allow for their belongings to be secured. According to the applicant, these individual rooming units promote social distancing that prevent the spread of COVID-19 while creating a sense of community. Additionally, this shelter model is flexible in providing accommodation so each person has their own secure space Therefore, they won't have to separate individuals by gender. Shower and bathroom facilities would be shared amongst the residents. Residents would be placed at the proposed emergency shelter through a combination of the Adult Shelter Connect service and through the street outreach staff by referral. Each resident will be given a participation agreement for a 30-day stay that is renewable. Residents will not be mandated to participate in accessing services, but will be encouraged to do so. And the applicant will also be providing flexible office space and group meeting space to provide access for residents to service providers, including telehealth. Shelter staff would be on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, consisting of security, a shift supervisor, 2 resident advocates, and a mental health practitioner. Currently, the staff plan is comprised of shelter staff and service staff, approximately 35 positions. However, the Avivo Village leadership will analyze the need for additional or different staffing and making changes as needed. An emergency shelter is regulated in the zoning ordinance, and regulations related to emergency shelters were amended last month in December of 2020. The new definition of an emergency shelter is any facility that provides sleeping accommodations and restroom facilities on a day-to-day basis for persons without permanent housing for periods greater than 24 hours but less than 6 months. This particular shelter model has been under review by the city's construction code services staff, and also emergency shelters are required to obtain a health license to ensure compliance with both the building and the health codes. If the interim use permit were to be approved, it would expire on January 29th, 2025, as requested by the applicant. The maximum time for a request for an interim use permit is 4 years, 5 years, but the applicant has requested 4 years. If the intent is to stay for an additional year, they can come back and apply for another interim use permit, or they can seek a conditional use permit to allow for the permanency of an emergency shelter at this location. The applicant has held 3 community meetings and information sessions that were open to the public. A summary of those presentations have been included in today's packet. Staff has not received any additional public comments regarding the proposed shelter. Staff has evaluated the proposed project for the required findings for an interim use permit, and they are located on pages 3 through 7 of the staff report. Further, the applicant has not requested any exceptions to the zoning code. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of the requested interim use permit with 2 stated conditions. First is that the interim use shall expire no later than January 29th, 2025. And the second is that the applicant will add at least 10 bicycle parking spaces to help provide additional options for residents. Kelly Matter with Avivo is the applicant, and I believe she is also here to provide testimony. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your report, Ms. Sether. We'll see if there are any questions for staff on item number 9. Seeing none, we will go ahead and open the public hearing on item number 9, and I note that Kelly Matter is here, and I would invite her to speak.
Thank you, Chair Goodman and council members. Can you all hear me?
We can.
Excellent. I just briefly wanted to say thanks so much for your support to date of these efforts. I'd also like to, on record, thank Minneapolis CPED for their efforts to support this important work. And I am happy to answer any questions, but I do want to first just share one short story of one of the 16 residents who moved in on December 30th. Just to show kind of the outcomes that we're achieving and hope to continue to achieve. We had a young woman, a 20-year-old, move in on December 30th who was 4 months pregnant, approximately malnourished from morning sickness and not being able to eat. We were able to, that same day, get her a prescription to support her, or rid her, if you will, of the morning sickness, and she had 2 warm meals that day. And the very next day, she was able to get her very first prenatal care with a doctor, and she and baby are thriving. We have also supported one of the initial 16 residents move into permanent supportive housing and have been able to move another individual in since then. And I'm also happy to report that we have ordered more than 10 bike racks that will be delivered sometime in this next month. Thank you so much for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for all the work you're doing and for being on the call today. We'll see if there's anybody else on the call on item number 9. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move approval of this interim use permit and see if there are any other comments or questions. Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osmond?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item is approved. We'll then move on to our last public hearing, which is item number 10. These are appointments to the Planning Commission. These are all mayoral appointments, and I will ask staff if they'd like to give a report on this item.
Yes, good afternoon, council members and Councilmember Goodman. We have 3 appointments and 1 reappointment before you today for the vacant positions on the Planning Commission. We have, I think, some very good qualified candidates for this round of appointments. We have Chloe Briggle, who is a city planner. We have Bill Baxley, who is an architect by trade, and we have Keith Ford, who's a former council member and a former MCDA deputy director. And I believe they have all called in just to say a few brief words this afternoon. And then we also have the reappointment of Alyssa Olson, who has done some great work on the Planning Commission over the last couple of years and serves as the mayor's designee on the commission.
I see. Thank you very much for your report, Ms. Holeen. We'll see if this is a public hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on item number 10 and see if any of the good folks who have been appointed are on the line to speak. If you are, you should press *6 to unmute if you'd like to say something. The clerks. Hello.
Hi, this is Keith Ford.
Councilmember Ford, thank you.
We go back to being called Alderman, actually back then. But I want to just thank you for the opportunity. My wife and I have lived in Minneapolis for 53 years, and we love the city, and I appreciate this one more chance to serve.
We are thrilled to have you, Mr. Ford. I'm honored that you were willing to serve. Thank you for being on the call today. We'll see if any of the other applicants are on the call and invite them to speak.
This is Bill Baxley.
Mr. Baxley, welcome.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Goodman and council members. Well, I haven't been a resident for 53 years. My wife and family have been here for 25 years. We've raised our kids in this wonderful city, and I'm a business owner and an architect with Gensler most recently, and I'm excited and happy to serve the city.
Thank you so much for willing to serve in this very time-consuming capacity. We'll see if Ms. Briggle or Ms. Olson are on the line.
Hello, this is Chloe.
Hi, Chloe.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. I am a planner by day and a North Minneapolis resident, so I'm really appreciative to be able to serve in this capacity and excited to get started.
Fantastic. Thank you for being on the call today and for being willing to serve. We'll see if Ms. Olson is on the line. Well, we want to thank her for already serving and for agreeing to be reappointed. If there are no other folks on the call, I want to thank everyone for sitting through the meeting today and also for agreeing to serve. I'm going to close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Schrader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to move this item forward, and as
the council's representative on the Planning Commission. I just look forward to working with you all. Thank you so much for for your commitment to the city. I also know that Ms. Olson was not able to be here. She had a previous engagement, but wanted to express, her excitement for serving another term on the Planning Commission.
Thank you. On Councilmember Schrader's motion, before we call the roll, I'll just take the opportunity to thank Councilmember Schrader for serving on the Planning Commission. When I reached out to him over something last week, they were 4 hours in after a long day of work for all of the people on the commission, and he wasn't even done yet. So I think it's important I don't want to tell Mr. Ford that, but the truth of the matter is Councilmember Schrader puts in a lot of hours doing this as our appointee and on our behalf. And I'm trying not to scare the new appointees, but as much thank my colleague for the really great work you do in this capacity. And on your motion to approve the appointees, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Osman?
Aye.
Ellison?
Aye.
Schrader?
Aye.
Chair Goodman?
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That item is approved. I want to thank everyone for their work on the Planning Commission. We have 2 items left. These are both presentation items, not as much discussion items. I've asked the Minneapolis Employment and Training Programs to prepare a presentation given everything that's been going on with unemployment and the pandemic. Their presentation will be 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will take a presentation from the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing, also their annual report. No action to be taken. I anticipate concluding this meeting not 1 minute after 25 after 3. So I will call on Mark Brinda to give his presentation. Mr. Brinda, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Committee Chair Goodman, council members. Thanks for inviting me in today. As you point out, 2020 has been a rough year in terms of the landscape for employment and training, the economy as a whole. COVID-19, social unrest has all put a number of people in a difficult economic condition. And so what I'd like to do today is to give a overview of some economic trends, and within that context, weave in sort of our response in employment and training to give you guys a better sense of how employment and training is stepping into this space in a new and different way based on some of the things that have come forward in 2020. So with that, I'm going to ask the next slide. Maybe.
I'm a little confused. Are we waiting for a slide deck?
I was cut off, so I was waiting for you. I'm not quite sure what has occurred, so I will stand ready whenever you are.
I'm ready.
Okay. There should be a slide deck up. Not quite sure. It was up for a moment and then it went away. So if we can get back to the employment and training slide deck, it will help with the context of what we're talking about today. Doesn't look like that presentation is coming.
I'm not sure what's going on. Let me ask the tech team if they can clarify, or maybe just you and me are talking to each other, Mark. No one else is on the line.
Me neither.
Maybe that is the case. Hard to tell.
Feels quiet.
Hi, Chair Goodman. The tech team is being sent the presentation again.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. All right.
I'm going to mute and put my camera off to make it easier for the tech team.
All right, if we're ready to go, the next slide, you can. So let me jump in since we'll use the next 15 minutes and I'll go quickly through this. This is a slide that many of you on the City Council as well as guests have seen. This is the mapping of the most recent COVID recession against the previous number of recessions in the United States. And what we're seeing right off the bat is that this is a recession unlike many that had come before. And so for employment and training, that means that the traditional responses, and not even traditional, the ways in which we respond to job seekers who are oftentimes impacted by any economic transformation or change, in this case, this recession, we're really looking at a new type of recession, one brought on by the pandemic. And you can see the steepness of the drop-off that occurred, as you know, in March and April, and then that recovery. You will note that this recovery is not yet back to the low point of the 2008, 9, 10 recession, which we all very much remember, but they're behaving so differently within the labor market. And this is something that I'm going to keep as a theme throughout the rest of the presentation, because it is that difference in how this recession is playing out that is forcing workforce development to think differently about its work and respond to community in a new way. Next slide. Right here is our metropolitan statistical area. So this is the 7-county metro area. This just speaks to the job loss. We had about 2.03 million jobs. We lost a considerable number of them in that 1 month of March to middle of April. There has been a recovery, but you can still see that jobs are just not rebounding, right? It's going to be a while. Now, what does the vaccine, how does the Biden administration's rollout of sort of new recovery act, or how is he going to be looking at this? Things that will be told within the next few months. But right now, we're still trying to figure out what is that economic rebound. Most people don't assume, most economists don't assume that this is going to be a long-term recession in the way that we saw in 07, 8, 9, because underlying it are not the same structural challenges like the banking and finance sector issues, the housing bubbles that occurred earlier. And that's going to then have ramifications within the labor force. How quickly can people get back into the labor force? How quickly they can get back to work? But it is slowly recovering because of some of the challenges presented by the public health dilemma. All right, next slide. You can just see here all the job loss in red. There has been recovery. The story is really mixed amongst those industries that make up our economy. Some are feeling it to a great effect, and some very little. And so what we're trying to do is trying to figure out, but the truth of the matter is that there was lots of job loss at the front of this. Unlike other previous recessions, and the why I say the tools of workforce development have to be different this time around is, this is one of the first times where we've seen the use of the tool of furlough. We've all known it's there. Very few people and very few industries have used it. This one was used heavily, and furloughs create a sense of returning to work with those employers that you had. What we're now starting to see 9, 10 months in is many of these furloughs are now turning into permanent layoffs. And that's something that we're going to watch really closely. Because when somebody is in furlough, they feel very confident that they're going to be entering back into the labor force in a similar way that they did when they lost their job, whether it be March, April, or more recently, say, September, October. But the longer we see the ramifications of the COVID economy, and the more people that turn into fully unemployed, that's going to change, again, the way in which we're going to need to respond. Next slide. This is the graph that many of you will see on the cover of the newspaper, on social media, talking about the economy, and this is that unemployment rate. We like the unemployment rate because it provides us a really important benchmark. It's the same way it's been calculated for generations, and so it's good, although it's got many flaws behind it. It's only measuring those who are in the labor force actively looking and those working. And so what we've really found is that the unemployment rate has dropped quite a bit in the last few months. We're down in our metro area to about 3.9. That would be a great unemployment rate in a normal economy. We were at about 2.5, 2.6, 2.9 at the beginning of 2020. So we still are well above where we were, a point above. The challenge in this is that there's one important caveat to this, which is it takes into account labor force participation. And I've talked to this committee before about labor force participation. It's one of these key indicators I think is so important to the way in which we look at our work. Labor force participation is those in your community that are actively engaged in labor and work, right? It means that they are either in work or out of work, but actively looking. We have seen more and more Minneapolis residents and more folks across our entire communities out into Greater Hennepin and Ramsey dropping out of the labor force. And that is a concerning trend. Now, I think there's some real reasons why this is happening, this recession more than any before. Next slide. And next slide, we don't need to focus on that one. It's in this. This is the Metro labor force trend. We saw about 1.7 million people in our labor force, and we saw it drop to about 1.68. These hundreds of thousands of drops, right? Or, you know, nearly 100,000 drop. And if you go to the next slide, in Minneapolis, if I fine tune this and we go into, we had about 255,000, just shy of 255,000 folks in the labor force. We've lost 15,000 people out of our labor force. So these aren't people that are just unemployed and actively looking. These are not unemployment insurance recipients, so being propped up by the unemployment system during their time of unemployment, or being able to draw on those federal extended unemployment benefits. These are folks that have said, I'm leaving the labor force at this point. They're not working and they're moving into a point of not being part of labor force. Why workforce development is so concerned about this is that it's this number that we're going to have to see rebound, because the more folks we have within that labor force, we know we have demand, but if you're unable to and unwilling to, in some cases, come into the labor force, that's going to be a drain and a drag, both for family incomes, for any number of things. But I say that with this huge caveat. Because this is a recession caused by a health pandemic, what we're seeing is that many of these folks are leaving the labor force for what we believe is a couple reasons. One is that children are at home, whether or not you're a primary parent or a guardian, or you have extended family in your household, children are at home like they've never been. As schools move to hybrid and online, the return to work after losing your job is just not possible in many cases. The other issue is that many folks that we know are within our community who are not working also live in spaces where they might be in multi-generational households. And so going into work, being an essential worker, being frontline staff perhaps, and bringing COVID home would have a huge health detriment to their family. And so at this point, we know many people are staying out of the labor force. They're just choosing to step out rather than try to get back in and then risk the health benefits. So whether it be the child care, the child rearing, and the school choices, and then to the public health, we see this as a really big sort of component of our work. What historically has happened when a recession has hit is that programs like the Dislocated Worker Program, which is a backstop program for anybody who's been laid off, no fault of their own, they can access for training, they can access counseling services, and a whole host of wraparound supports to move them back more rapidly into employment. Those doors, which had historically been flooded on day one of a recession, have been very quiet. People are just either waiting to get back into the labor force, sort of pausing on this. And we believe this is the case because it's also being echoed in some of the places that are oftentimes the greatest recipients of new students during a recession, which is the community and technical colleges. Talking to the president of Minneapolis College this morning, she mentioned that this trend is a national trend, that enrollments in the training, technical schools, community education are down to historic lows. And it's people are unable to enter into those traditional spaces of job training or job placement services because of the way in which this recession is playing out, because it is coupled with that health concern, right? So what we're seeing is, yes, the unemployment rate is dropping, but we're also seeing that more and more people are just choosing to drop out. The question for us in employment and training is, how do we prepare ourselves for what will be a great number of job seekers in the near future? If we trust that the vaccine rollout will occur over the next, say, 4 to 6 months, and more people are feeling like they can enter back into the labor force, or jobs that have been shut down in the entertainment industry and hospitality industry and restaurant industries come back, well, then we're going to be seeing lots of folks come through the doors at our community-based organizations looking for those services. And so we stand prepared, making new investments, making sure that we see our community-based providers ready and poised for that work at the same time that they are doing work. It is not like they are quiet. It's just a different recession than it had been before. So you've already heard from 3 community-based organizations. You know the work is being done, but again, it's different this time around. Next slide. This just highlights the depth of the labor market sort of cool off during the early stages of the pandemic. You can see here that our our unemployment office went from processing about 6,700 unemployment claims in February of 2020 to by April, 192,000. That is the sort of scope in which unemployment was an issue. It is now cooled down, but it just shows that. Next slide. From unemployment or from Minneapolis Employment Training's perspective, one thing that we have to pay attention to is not that big spike and then the rollback as people go back into work or as their employers figure out safety protocols. But it's in these the black graphs as we move out in time, which is those that are continued UI claims. The further we get away from somebody being disconnected from their work, the harder it is for that individual to join back into the labor force. So we want to make sure that we have those resources deployed and that we have the programming in place that when those folks are ready to re-enter the labor force, right? Maybe they are, but maybe they're sitting back and waiting a little bit, maybe doing some passive online searching, maybe doing some online learning at the same time. We're ready that when the longer term unemployed need to get back in the labor force, that our services are there. Next slide. One thing that we're acutely aware of in employment training, and the city of Minneapolis is acutely aware of overall, is that this is not a recession shared by all, right? Not every group has been impacted in the same way. As I mentioned about sectors of our economy, some parts of our community are being impacted more heavily than others. One thing we're noticing is that while white population in Minneapolis are filing higher rates of unemployment claims by number, the proportion of those impacted to their percent in the labor force are communities of color, BIPOC communities, African-American communities are hard hit by this, as they oftentimes, as demographically speaking, what we're seeing is many folks from the Black community, the new immigrant community are in jobs that were more affected by this, and the recovery of those jobs has been slower. And so we're going to have to make that concerted effort, as we saw with Urban League and Emerge and Hired, that this is not just generic programming, but this is really targeted programming to communities that are really feeling the hurt and the hit of the COVID economy. Next slide. This is the state of Minnesota has done some analyses of where they believe that the most challenges to something that they call permanent separation from work is going to play out. And so they're very concerned, as you can see with the race, African Americans or Blacks, as well as people with disabilities, right? That those two groups are being disproportionately impacted by this economy and this change. And we're going to have to be ready, and we are, but we have to be thinking about the strategies in these spaces. Next slide. These are total claims by occupation, and this is in Minneapolis. And so I wanted to drill down and get into where are we seeing it. This is of no surprise to anybody on this council, on this committee. We are seeing the greatest impacts on our hospitality industry, our retail service workers, our cooks and food preparation. Also, construction workers, healthcare workers have been impacted in unusual ways, right? Healthcare, this is a pandemic health-led recession, yet hospitals and healthcare workers are also losing their jobs. So there's a lot to unpack in all this data. Next slide. We'll move on to keep ourselves on time. Next slide. There is light. There are some real areas of opportunity that we are making investments in. So within the industry sectors that we have an interest in, but also I think we should be paying attention to as they start to grow. We're looking at healthcare continues to be a driver as it's hit early on with layoffs. It still is hiring back. They can't fill in some areas. I heard a story that it isn't just about need, it's about repositioning their employees and new employees into new positions. That's that structural change that we're going to see, that all of a sudden a 5-year plan to integrate more online health visits came due in 6 months, and making sure staff are ready to do online visits with patients. That's a challenge within their training realm. So there's things that we're doing in this, finance and insurance, right? Retail, trade, transportation, warehousing, manufacturing. There's light on the occupation side where we work more of our programming. We're seeing areas where we're making investments, CDL training, registered nurses, software developers, and computer operators through our Tech Hire initiative. We're making investments in those areas. And the next slide, I think, will give a sort of highlight where we're at. we really want to, if I can take a look at what would be the right side of the slide first. What we're doing is we're making some really targeted investments. Recently, you saw the suite of programs through our Career Pathways, $750,000 of new programs going out in sectors like transportation, healthcare, IT, construction, manufacturing, all occupations and sectors of our economy that are seeing some glimmers of hope and some light and some demand. We want to continue our tech hire efforts. We're going to be making an additional or continued 600,000 plus investment in IT projects. We know that side of the economy really didn't stumble during this recession, but we want to, so we want to capitalize on that by bringing in some new opportunities for frontline learners and gateway learners to think about and see how they could work into the IT field. And then finally, one thing we're going to be doing is we're going to put a lot of effort in the next 6 months into really sort of stabilizing and bringing youth programs back in. Last summer, we did a great job of pivoting, maybe I should say, into a virtual summer with some in-person jobs. Well, this year we want to be aggressive. We want to get to employers. We want to continue to create those youth jobs because we know that youth in this town and across this country really have really been subject to a lot of change within their lives, whether it be schools being out, after school programs, sports programs, and jobs programs all being sort of canceled in many respects for the last 9 months. We want to do that as we see it, not just as a jobs program, but as a community stabilizing program, a family stability program, and something that might curb some of the other challenges that we're seeing within our young demographics in Minneapolis. So with that, I stuck to 3 o'clock. So I can stand for questions, but I do know that we want to move on with our agenda. So thank you so much for the time, and happy to be back.
Mr. Brinda, I'd want to make sure there is enough time for discussion and questions on this topic, since the B in business for biz means workforce development and business opportunities and employment. And I know that there are potentially could be a lot of questions. The first thing I would add while everyone's thinking of their questions is, could you send the slide deck to all of the members of the council? I had the opportunity to study the slide deck in advance of the meeting, and it's hard to see on these little laptops. And so if you could send everyone the slide deck, that would be great.
Yep.
And then I'll see if members of the committee have questions or comments for Mr. Brinda. This is a time at which employment and training is particularly important as we move out of the recession. And we heard from 3 organizations on the ground doing this work about the incredible work they're doing. And I'm hopeful that we can continue to make major investments in this kind of work at CPED. And I'm very appreciative for the report. So I will go ahead and see if there's anyone else who would like to say anything or have questions for Mr. Brinda. Anyone? Seeing none. Mr. Brinda, thank you for your report. I don't think the silence means no one has any questions. It means we're 90 minutes into a meeting, and that's about the time at which attention has worn thin. So I very much appreciate your presentation and hope we'll be doing this quarterly so we can keep up on what you and your team are hearing as important trends and things that we need to pay attention to as it pertains to the economic recovery on Lake Street, as well as the unemployment recovery that we're sure to go through in the next couple of years. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I'll direct the clerk to receive and file this report. I don't believe that requires a vote. And then we'll move on to item number 19, which is receiving and filing the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing annual report. And I will call on Ms. Topinka, I believe, who is going to introduce this topic.
Yes, thank you, Chair Goodman and committee members. We will be giving just a brief report. I'm just going to kick it off and then turn it over to one of our committee co-chairs to give more detail. So the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Housing was established by the council in 2018 and began meeting in 2019. This report is a 2-year report because the committee co-chairs were scheduled to give a presentation in the middle of March last year, and so we postponed that for obvious reasons. And so we just combined the first 2 years of the committee into one report. The Advisory Committee on Housing is a 21-member committee. There are 12 resident members and 9 members from organizations that work on housing. So that includes MPS, MPHA, and then also just categories of organizations like a community development organization or an organization that advocates for rental property owners. The committee is charged with advising the city council, the mayor, and city departments on housing issues, and it is staffed by a team from CPED, Regulatory Services, and Health. So I'm going to turn it over to one of our committee co-chairs, Joey Dobson. She was on the committee the first 2 years. She's a housing policy attorney with Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid, and she is going to go into more detail. She's here representing the leadership team. Before I turn it over to her, she is going to be going through recommendations that the committee has made in their report. And I just want to note that in the recommendations, there are a number of areas where we're doing extensive work already or starting on some of that work. So if there are questions at the end and you want more details on some of the work that the city is doing in those areas already, happy to take those at the end. But with that, I'll turn it over to Joey Dobson.
Ms. Dobson, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much, Madam Chair and committee members, and thank you, Katie, for that introduction. I know it's the end of a long meeting, so I will be brief, but thank you very much for the opportunity to present briefly to you today. Like Katie said, I'm a housing policy attorney with Legal Aid. I've been the co-chair along with Colleen Ebbinger. Also part of our leadership team on the committee is Brenda Marcos and Scott Schaefer. We will be electing new leadership for a new term this coming month at our February meeting. And just really quickly before the recommendations, I just want to say that it's truly been an honor to be a part of this committee since it was created. I'm really thankful to the staff that help out with the committee, Katie, Kelly Rose Jones, and Lisa Smestad for all of their support, and also to Councilmember Gordon's office for, being responsible for creating this committee and then continuing to provide resources through staff, Robin Garwood. Also, Andrea Inouye from the mayor's office is present on a regular basis to provide support. So just want to thank the city for not only the opportunity to participate in this committee, but for the resources that it has lended to make our work more productive and helpful, I hope. So we're excited to be starting our 3rd year with some returning and many new members as well. So this, as Katie said, our committee considered a number of recommendations that these are recommendations to the city council as part of this annual, or in this case, biannual report, just things to be that the committee feels are important, as Katie said, some of which we know are already underway. The first recommendation is something that has already been occurring, but the recommendation is, as council is considering new housing policies, the recommendation is that the council engage with the advisory committee. There really is a wide range of perspectives and expertise on the committee through municipal partners, renter advocates, homeowner advocates, development experts. There's a lot of expertise in the room. And we have had the privilege of considering a number of policy proposals and ordinances and kind of department initiatives as a committee. And we have found that engagement to be really helpful for all of us and the constituents that we serve and the people that we work with, but also hopefully we've brought some ideas to those policies as well. The second recommendation is there's a lot of concern on the committee regarding lower income, especially homeowners during this time. So the recommendation here is that the city track that the current federal mortgage forbearance that is set to expire at the end of March 2021 and continue considering ways to assist homeowners who might be struggling on their mortgage due to the recession and COVID-19 pandemic. The third recommendation is to engage with stakeholders to reevaluate income and other verification requirements for eligibility for future rent assistance programs. This is, of course, timely as the city is receiving funds through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. And I know that program was in the development stage as quickly as possible and just wanted to highlight the desire of the committee that stakeholders are involved in determining the rules of some of those programs. Number 4 is a recommendation that the council prioritize eviction prevention strategies, which we know there are a lot of, and there are a lot in the works. Thank you. Could we move to the next slide, please? All right, and then this, I believe, is the final slide. This is the end. A recommendation to prioritize budget and bonding capacity to create and preserve deeply affordable housing. There's been a lot of conversation in our committee about what is and what is not affordable, and the ways that area median income doesn't always mean that the resources get to who needs them, especially in the city of Minneapolis. The next recommendation is to continue to explore and develop an opportunity to purchase policy. We know that work is being done to get that policy developed. We just wanted to express our support for the ongoing hard work that's going into crafting that policy and the various options that have been presented. The next recommendation is that the council prioritize addressing issues of homelessness by expanding shelter opportunities and housing solutions, including adopting an ordinance to allow single room occupancy. And I think, having sat through this meeting today, I know that is certainly in the works. There are a number of different ideas and initiatives in the works to address our homelessness crisis. And it is an important issue that our committee is continuing to think about other ways that we might recommend the city be involved in this issue. And then finally, and relatedly, specifically to unsheltered homelessness, we know that the city collaborates with Hennepin County on shelter and other related issues, but the recommendation is just to really be collaborating and finding ways that the city can take a lead on unsheltered homelessness, in addition to work that the county is doing. So again, all of these are meant to support and encourage the council to continue work that is already being done, and to express our support and offer our resources as we can be helpful moving forward. As we know, there are lots of housing related policy conversations in the works, and we're really excited for 2021 to be a year of thinking creatively and thinking about how we can provide homes and make sure that all of our residents in Minneapolis are healthy and safe. So thank you very much for the opportunity both to serve on this committee and to share these recommendations with you all today. You're all leaders in this area, and I know all the committee members are grateful for the opportunity to engage with the city council and city staff and mayor's office on these really important housing issues. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and your work schedule to be involved today. And Mr. Pinka, thank you so much for everything you're doing. I thought I'd maybe just call on Councilmember Gordon and see if he had any thoughts he wanted to share prior to the conclusion of the meeting, since he has been the primary person working with this group directly.
Well, I'll just express my appreciation for the work that they've done. I had the opportunity to go to the first meeting this year as well and see the new members who joined. It is quite a diverse group, offering perspectives across the whole gamut in terms of housing. And I think it's provided really valuable input, helping us better refine our policies and understand the ramifications. So I'm expecting we'll still be going back to the Housing Advisory Committee as we further refine these issues, and getting your recommendations outlined so clearly right now is really helpful for us. So really appreciate your work and the work of the entire committee. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. Councilmember Schrader.
Thanks, Chair Goodman. I also just want to express my thanks to the committee and to the staff. I really think that it says a lot that a lot of the things that you're focusing on, the city is really starting to work on. And I think some of that is the times we're in. We really were faced with it was more transparent how far we have to go to creating homes for everybody this year. And we have really scrambled as a city. And so it's really been helpful to have partners, to have stakeholders in the same place, and really appreciate the work of the advisory committee.
Anyone else like to comment? If not, I will thank everyone for participating and ask the clerk if there's no objection to receive and file this report. And then I also just wanted to take a moment, and I know we will take a moment at the next council meeting to reflect on the fact that our dear friend and committee clerk, Irene Casper, is going to be retiring. I'm not sure if members of the committee were aware of this. You know, we have 122 people retiring across the entire enterprise, but most, if not all, of the members of this committee have had the good fortune to work with Irene over a long period of time. And I'm pretty sure this is her last meeting that she'll be working with us on, although she'll be here till the end of the month. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank her and let her know by all of the people who have worked with you in agenda setting throughout Reg Services and CPED, we just hold you in such high regard. And as sad as we are that you'll be leaving us, we are happy that you have the opportunity to take this early retirement at such a young age and be able to enjoy your life and not be worried about the city in a way that you have been throughout your entire career. So I know we'll have some thoughts and comments about that at the council meeting on the 29th, but I wanted to take an opportunity to point that out to members of the committee today as well. We will be welcoming Lisa Brock as our committee clerk once we get into February, but fondly thanking Irene for everything that she has done over her very long career at the city. Seeing no further comments and without objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.